The All Things TechIE podcast is a product of the Extreme Media Network. For advertising and sponsorship opportunities, please visit www.extrememedia.ie. That's XTREME media.ie.
We are on episode 46 of the All Things Techie podcast. We finally have found Simon Lang. He's at a high-rise tower across... Is that Dublin City?
No, it looks like it's San Francisco. But I'm definitely I think it's San Francisco. I'm the furthest you could get from... maybe. Don't know. Anyway, not in Ireland.
It's not in Ireland, but he is in Ireland. He's not broken his quarantine limit. He haven't been given a vaccine yet, Simon.
No, definitely not.
You're not. And
I discovered I had a look at the priority list the other day, and woohoo, I realized I can move one level up due to the company I work for is an entertainment company, which is one step higher than the second last level that I was originally on.
Really, I didn't even know you could actually look up this type of stuff. So you can sort of try and guesstimate when you're going to.
Because actually, to be honest, I actually looked up for you too, because you actually fall in the same category as me. Is third level institutions and entertainment are in the same category.
Unless we send our children to a private school and we know people and we get working in a nursing environment, I'm hoping that I can scratch someone's back at some stage, and I'm probably going to cut all this shit. Yeah, but hopefully, like working in higher ed in nursing, I can find someone like that has a magical cure. So. Who knows? Yeah. If any of our international listeners are not sure of what we are talking about, a private hospital in Dublin gave vaccinations to their own the private school where their sons and daughters went to. And there's a big investigation going on at the moment. It's called the Beacon Hospital. We will put the link up on the show notes. So that's how Ireland is getting on. We are still in level 5 lockdown. By the time this show airs, we might know, are we allowed to even go a bit further than our 5-kilometre radius outdoors, apparently, which might be extended, as the newspaper reports today say, to 10 kilometres. Woo! Which 90% of people in Ireland are probably breaking at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, probably about that. And to be honest, if we actually went 10 kilometres towards your house, you went 10 kilometres towards my house, we probably could actually cross in the middle at a park.
Oh, wow, yeah, we have to actually look that up. Or if we stand in the middle of the road, since no one's supposed to be driving anyways, maybe we can get away with it.
You never know. There might be a park somewhere between us.
Yeah,
or a road.
A
big M50 thing.
Yeah, like I got stopped coming back from Ardgillan, which is outside my 5-kilometre radius, with my 2 kids, one 3.5 years of age, the other 1.5 years of age, and the guard asked me, where am I going? I thought I'm going, I'm going on a massive rave at the moment, and the boot's full of drink, I felt like going, where do you think I'm going? I'm going home, I'm taking the kids to the park to tire them out. Okay, we should really start this show, shouldn't we?
This is the All Things Techie podcast.
It's the All Things Techie podcast, episode 46. We had a competition running for the past month, and our social media threads have absolutely skyrocketed. We have over 3,000 Twitter followers now, which is just crazy. About 250 subscribers on YouTube, which means we must be doing something right, and people must like us. I did end up reviewing the Elgato ring light, which I'm using at the moment, so it's not leaving the studio, and that was a product review which I was told that I could keep. Because I have a Rode mic and an analog mixing desk, I did test out the Elgato Wave 3 USB microphone. It was very, very nice, but I have all this kit, so I just said I don't really need to. Let's give that away as a prize. Steve Ashby! Congratulations.
Yay!
Steve Ashby literally was plugging the crap out of our podcast for the past month or so, even to the stage of going, I never win any prizes. So he was actually on the top of the leaderboard. Steve, you deserve it. Steve does a lot of stuff over in AV Brits, and he does a lot of AV happy hours, and he needs to be comfortable on his chair, and he can use the desk mount for the Wave 3 microphone. I think he deserves it.
Yay. Good on you, Steve.
I like when things go. So, Steve, I'll get your contact details and I'll send that on to you. Now, coming up in the program, we are going to be talking about St. Patrick's Day drones. We didn't even do a firework display. We did drones. I'm going to drop in the video in while I'm speaking at this. Simon, have you been? Did you actually follow this with the drones for St. Patrick's Day? Awesome.
I seen the video. I seen the promotional video, the final product, which was absolutely amazing because to set the scene, it's shot on the river of the Liffey in Dublin. Mm-hmm. There's a bridge called Samuel Beckett, I think it's called. It's the shape of a harp on its side, basically. And they shot this over, so you couldn't get much more Irish than this.
The Orchestra of Light is a short film created by the St. Patrick's Festival, Tourism Ireland and Dublin City Council. The film was pre-recorded in Dublin in early March. I say it was quite late at night. Well, who knows? Because it's the fact that it was a perfectly clear night to do this as well. Mm. Now, whether or not you need a clear night with clouds or would it work with a cloudy night? Because the drones that have LED lights, so it's not like a firework that's just going to disintegrate into a cloud. Intel and Activo Events collaborated on the film, which represents Intel's first ever drone light show in Ireland. And you know what? Like, we do have Intel in very close to where Simon lives, which is expanding rapidly.
Yep.
Simon, you have to pull out those photos. I do want to actually drop those photos in. The time that they were like with big heavy trucks that didn't fit up the road. When
they were bringing in some of the engine. I don't know if they were engines or tunnel or tubes or whatever generators. They were humongous, and they just announced this week 1,600 new jobs.
1,600, is that it? Yeah, like it really.
Once construction ends, like the construction alone is 1,600 workers down there. The amount of cranes.
But the fact that Intel is based in Ireland, it's great to see Intel were supporting this drone show. The St. Patrick's Day drone show featured 500 Intel drones, and there's another link to this, so I'm going to open that up. 500 Intel drones forming series of animations. It's a beautiful piece of film art and demonstrates the capabilities of operating swarms of drones in incredibly precise and elaborate pattern.
Because we've seen this done in other like in other countries.
They did it actually for the World Scout Jamboree. Was the first time I ever experienced this going off in West Virginia, and have the video on my other podcast and media outlet, Scouting Radio. You can watch that there. But wow, like to have this in Ireland, I just thought that this was fantastic. I've actually linked up with a couple of the network of Activo events, and I really want to actually just have a podcast of how it is done,
like a behind the scenes.
I really want,
from literally the design to concept to actually taking the drones out of the box.
Like as for the first couple of seconds of the video, you see all these drones light up and come out of the box like a swarm of bees. It looks amazing. You know how that is programmed. How it's programmed that they don't crash into each other and end up in the Liffey. We're probably talking about expensive robotic drones for this type of design.
Because I think I've seen them. Was it one of out in Asia? I'm going to be very broad. Was one big games? I don't know. It wasn't Olympics or what it was, or soccer or something. And they had it as part of their opening or closing ceremony, and it was amazing watching. That's where I saw it first.
We apparently afterwards they did. This is not the only one that Dublin City Council and the government have been involved with Intel about. They did similar to Ireland's loss at the Aviva the other day, where they were trying to boost the boys in green, and they did them over the Aviva Stadium, Ireland's national stadium as well.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a different idea with the football and kicking the ball, but you just wonder, is it like a simple graphic that they import into some software, and it's like, okay, we can do the animation of drones to this. it just makes me want to have a drone. Like, would a drone interest you at all? Like,
Oh
if you,
yeah, I
yeah,
think so. Yeah, I would love. I always it's something I can't do, but I always love. I'm involved with park runs,
yeah.
you know, and I would love because you have some of the tracking drones that you could track the leading runner
Mhm.
as and it flies
So
around
literally,
the
it is
park
like a
as if
wristband or something that these runners are wearing, and the
yeah.
drone is
Oh, I think it'd be
flying out.
amazing. But the thing is, they're so restricted. But I do follow. Is it? There's a Twitter account of like Irish drones or something like that.
Mhm.
Aerial images or something like that, and they're just have such amazing pictures from when they're out around the country when they weren't locked down. And they did one. Actually, I was watching an article. They did one at Dublin Airport. I thought was quite amazing. And they shot it even at Christmas Day when the airport was closed and stuff like that. So the drones are a thing that's going to get very popular.
Well, like, I think drones is going to
Mm.
get even more popular. And when you talk about the fact of COVID-19 restrictions, which means there's no less planes in the sky now. I know some of the drone licensing companies that we've interviewed before on All Things Techie podcast would say that, yeah, it's still a flight zone and it can be used for emergency flights. Yes, okay, but like there's less planes in the air, so you know, I guess people are getting away with flying drones a little more and less flight path
Yeah.
restrictions, especially when they were doing this in the city centre and around by the Aviva. Because I actually know that in UCD on campus, you can't fly one there because apparently that's the flight zone for Vincent's Hospital, which is just up the road in Donnybrook. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
and there's restrictions around me because there's a private airport beside us as well. So there's definitely restrictions in legal
Yeah.
area. So
Now, how many people actually like with these toy drones? How many people pay attention to these things? Who knows? But I know a couple of the neighbours have caught their little toy drones up in trees as of recently, and there's actually a great video that I'm going to put in this show as well of Lust Village that was shot by an independent media company as well. I'll throw that in there as well. The short film for St. Patrick's Day was produced by Shinna Will, which I think do a lot of stuff for the national broadcaster. I think T.G. Caher does a lot with Shinna Will, and scored by Irish composer Emer Known and her husband Craig Stewart Garfinkel, along with RT National Symphony Orchestra, which is probably where I've heard of Shinna Will. The duo has collaborated the Irish band picture. This is on the score, which features an orchestral remix of the band's latest single, "Things Are Different," and great idea of like the name of the song, especially when we're in a global pandemic as well. Yeah, I just thought that was really really cool. Like I see this replacing the whole idea of fireworks.
yeah, oh yeah, nah, I suppose. But fireworks are just something so special. It's the noise, it's the bang, it's the wow factor. I still think that there's place for both.
There's a place for both,
Both,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I think even at the World Jamboree, they did actually have fireworks after the drone display as well. Just to end the night.
Mm.
Um, but I think definitely something that we have to chase up on how they do this. Like even if we seen 50 coming out of a box and just seeing how they were programmed, I love to see what
Yeah.
goes on behind the scenes. We have to chase up on this. Apple forced to include a charger with the iPhone in Sao Paulo in Brazil. I don't know, have you been following this story,
Yes.
Simon? But like, it's literally Apple just trying to do things, I guess, cheaper. Has everyone got a charger for their phone if they're going from one upgrade to the next to the next?
Because they
But
said it was environmental and carbon reasons, so they don't have to produce as many plugs, adapter plugs or whatever you want to call them, that they don't include them. But I guess this region, it was seen as it was a requirement, and they
I
just had to.
okay, fine, right. There's the argument of going, okay, the plug itself, a USB plug, right? You can buy a USB plug for maybe €3 or €4 in in the in a pound shop or a euro shop or whatever. But the cables are changing all the time with regards to USB-C, Lightning, whatever. I think that's more important that they do include them, along with the price of a new iPhone 12, which can retail at about $1,000.
Plus, yeah.
You would want to get a charger.
But then it's kind of funny because if you follow any of the fire services or emergency services, they're telling you to don't buy cheap plugs,
True.
don't buy cheap cables, use the official brand stuff. So if they're not including it, you have to have it. If you don't have it, you have to go buy it. And as you say, you've just gone and either taken out a deal with your local phone store for 24 months of paying off this iPhone at the highest tariff, and then you have to go and fork out more than 15 to 20 euros for an official iPhone plug.
Earlier in 2020, Procon SP asked Apple why it was no longer providing charging accessories with the new iPhones. Apple's answer that most consumers already have the charging bricks and removing them would reduce carbon emissions. But they were fined $2 million for it. Wow. Yeah, so although the decision only applies to the state of Sao Paulo, Brazil's National Consumer Secretary is said to be mulling over a similar move at federal level. The situation is similar to one in France where Apple is forced by law to include earpods with its iPhone model. Rumor has it, though, that the next iPhone, the iPhone 13, will not have any ports whatsoever. So you have to charge it on one of those charging bases that you can buy.
Wireless charging and earpods.
Yeah, interesting. I remember we used to have these conversations when we worked together, and I said that sounds ludicrous. How would they ever get away with taking away the mini jack plug out of the iPhones? And lo and behold, they did. They have. Yeah.
And it's going that way, but I wonder will like the Samsungs or whoever is the next, because Huawei, no offense to them, are now off the radar really for most people, because if you want your Google environment, so if Samsung make a change where there's no connectors, that's it. That's the end of the jack, I think.
Yeah. That I actually don't know what phone I would buy next, knowing that Huawei have their own store now. Yeah. Will they do it?
I love it. I love Huawei. That's the problem. I actually do like them, but unfortunately, I keep getting mails now to buy one of the new Samsungs. Because I'm well due an upgrade at this point, so I'm constantly and every day I'm getting the mail now.
I refuse to ever go into another 12 or 24 month contract. My phone tariff at the moment costs me €15 a month. I have all you can eat data, all you can eat calls. No, I'm never getting into one of those.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me too much because I like who I'm with. My only issue at the moment is having to pay extra for 5G. That is my only reason for not upgrading is.
And your phone is 5G compatible. You're using an iPhone, are you?
No, if I was upgrading,
okay,
I would go for a 5G phone.
Okay,
but I would. But at the moment, all the tariffs, bar the ones that are like 60 to 80 euros a month, are you have to pay extra for 5G. Where I want 5G. That's it. So wait, I'm just going to keep waiting, and eventually they're going to have to make it.
They're going to give us part and parcel of the deals. If you want to get in contact with the program, we've got to give out our Twitter handles. It's AV Tech Junkies. If you want to get in touch with Simon and myself and the podcast at AV Tech Junkies, you can hashtag all things techie. You can also email us comments at allthingstech.ie. Our website is www.allthingstech.ie. Simon's personal handle is
Simon Lang AV.
And I'm at Justin or Dawson. Talking about Twitter founder, I actually watched a program of BBC Click about this, and it just blew my mind. Twitter's founder Jack Dorsey's first tweet sells for how much? £2 million. It's an image. I think in later years it will realize the true value of this tweet, like the Mona Lisa painting claimed by her. Sina Esfatavi, who has plenty of money, and we want her to start sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah.
So, in other words, it is actually selling the digital certificates of an image, and this has grown in popularity more and more and more. The tweet itself, which had the words "just setting up my Twitter," was made on the 21st of March 2006. That shows how old we are, Simon. Years later, people realised the true value of this tweet, like the Mona Lisa painting. So, literally, the tweet itself has not been sold in traditional sales. It's still available on Twitter for anyone to see and share. Instead, it's a non-fungible token, an NFT, which is attached to the image, and this actually proves that you are the authentic owner.
Because I think I've seen Elon Musk is involved with this NFT as well. He's involved somehow with this as well. So it seems to be it's like a new commodity, they're basically saying.
Certificates that are similar to cryptocurrency coins, except where the coins are fungible, being broken down into 0.001 of a coin, for instance. The certificate token is non-fungible. They are basically just cryptographically unique certificates of ownership stored within a blockchain ledger. So there you go. So, like, yes, okay, great. You know, there was one that had a big, massive grid of thumbnail pictures that someone had collected, and it sold again for millions. I'll try and find it and stick it on the show notes. And you go, yeah, great. Wow, you own this. You had the money to buy this piece of digital art. Would you want to be displaying it somewhere, wouldn't you? Like, you would hope
for that amount of money, yes, you would.
Contact us. We're AV technicians. We will install like an LED wall where you can display it in full capacity or whatever. Yeah, you know, imagine like house parties if you weren't displaying it properly. Come over, look at my laptop. I own this image. Yeah, hold on. What am I looking at here? Yeah, you want to be displaying it properly. You know, especially when it's of this size and the pixels and everything that goes with it. You know, and then 3D imaging it's becoming popular with this as well. I don't get it though.
No, either do I. I don't like it, but it's a bit like why do people have so much money who buy them just so they could spend their money?
Yeah, I wonder if it's taxable. You know, like you know, the way if you buy art, it's taxable. I love to know like can you claim money back off like buying art like this? I bought what an name. I think we just need to design something, Simon, and just like have an NFT on it, and you know maybe like our first podcast, like the first bit of audio of a podcast. I wonder could you do something similar with audio? Like I know it's photos and images, but I wonder will it get to the stage where audio files like that they can.
But it's like trying to how can you have unique audio? It's like I often think about this where people copyright a song or a tune or a riff, and then it's like someone comes along and creates another one that sounds similar-ish or like it, and you're going, but it's still kind of like at what point do we run out where there's no new music? We're just regurgitating bits of other people's music.
And this is where we need someone like Tom Kerr to come on, who like with the Audio Engineering Society for years and years and years, or people that work in Audio Engineering Society to actually tell us how they can actually physically prove that it's the same note as someone else.
There must be some kind of scale, or not scale, in the sense of like, as in it has to be 3 notes, 4 notes, whatever. That means you're infringing copyright, blah, 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 blah.
There was plenty of news recently about Facebook, and both Facebook in Australia. Now, I still haven't been able to wrap my head around what happened in Australia, where now Facebook pay, I believe, news agencies to carry, or because they're carrying news, they have to pay into a news agency society to be allowed to carry news on their platform in Australia. I think for a while they weren't allowed to. Australian government pulled it,
so it's like saying that Facebook is like technically a news agency.
Well, it is. Like, come on, like you
It
can't
is.
really deny that it isn't. You know, you can do live broadcasts, you can read news feeds, but imagine blocking a social media outlet like that from any news coverage and being able to pull the plug. Well, not only did Facebook have those problems, but in Venezuela, Facebook temporarily freezes Venezuela's president's page for spreading coronavirus misinformation. And Facebook froze the page of the Venezuelan president for violating its policy against spreading COVID-19 misinformation, the company confirmed Saturday. It's just the ongoing war of not just Facebook, but social media versus political people.
Yeah.
Like, look at
Or free speech. This is a massive, like, what line is the free speech being no longer free speech? It's actually dictated by the company, or what you think the whole Trump thing during
Trump is
the
the prime
Capitol
example.
Hill.
Apparently, Trump is going to be allowed back to go back onto Twitter. Apparently, now, how if he's not the president anymore and you get banned off a social network site, are they going to allow him back on? Other rumors say that he's going to set up his own social media feed and trend, which, okay, we might have the Trump lovers and the Trump haters, and we don't want to get too political, but you know, like, isn't that just the definition of dictatoring? You know, Hitler did something similar when he ran with propaganda material. To have the money to set up your own media, well, he had his own media outlet as well, Trump, for
And
years.
yeah, like he's not like he's short of money. You have to have
No.
money to run for president. So
Yeah.
he definitely has money. But the question is, will anyone be in that? Anyone of like to get substantial followers to make money out of it? I don't know if he would get enough people.
And
That
is this the new trend? You look at the royal family, and they jumped on board, like going on Oprah to highlight their story and then sell their new brand. You know, look, it's a question of like media and technology. Like, once upon a time that you wouldn't be able. It goes down the route of, like, actually good topic as well, is that there's no longer digital audio broadcasting. It's been switched off in Ireland, you know, and we always thought, like, even the days that the two of us went to college, that was going to be the next big thing. And then it's the internet. It's internet broadcasting. It's podcasting. Podcasting has grown and grown and grown, emerging trend. At the moment, while people are
and radio stations are actually broadcasting live on the internet. If you listen to a radio station on the internet, you actually get more information. You get more. I've seen where they're showing the lyrics of the song they're playing at the moment.
Look at Dennis O'Brien. Dennis O'Brien had sold a lot of his media outlets simply because he admitted he cannot guarantee that the youth of today will continue to listen to FM radio versus the likes of Spotify and podcasts. You know,
but I guess there's always the people who like, I would call morning TV.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of like the morning talk shows. They will love. There's still the people out there who love the radio talk shows when they traveled. Of course, now I wonder as the numbers drop because people aren't traveling as much. Like, I don't think I've listened to a morning radio show in over a year now because I haven't been traveling.
Yeah, but do you listen to as many podcasts now, like even going out on walks?
No, I would cut back. I've cut back on my. I suppose I'm very topic specific in my podcasts. Yeah. I'm listening to certain things, and I really just have enough time to listen to those, because when I'm back here in the house, you're just listening to Spotify or whatever music is on your phone. But I got to say, Spotify probably is the most.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like I've cut back on, because I'm not doing the commute. I would like to, like, I'm waiting for the creches to reopen, guys. Again, well, the creches are reopened, but my son be back in creche now in 2 weeks' time, and be able to just go out on lunchtime walks and listen to a podcast, which I did last summer of 2020 during this lockdown. But I honestly haven't been listening to as many podcasts. But, you know, definitely it's a game changer where look at this. We set this up 2 years ago. We're still going with on episode 46. You know, actually have to say a big congratulations to Tim Albright and the AV Nations team. I think hitting 500 episodes just shows you how dedicated he is to the AV industry. I just thought I'd throw that in there as well. 500 episodes, wow!
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get
there. Yeah. We just need to do these more regularly. But I just think total game changer. Media and freedom of speech, as you brought it up. There has to be a bit of give and take. And people are creating podcasts on all different types of scenarios.
But even I've seen manufacturers, like if you want to go talk about AV, there's AV manufacturers are creating their own podcasts as part of their advertisement and marketing package.
Yeah. Video is a commodity. I wrote my latest article for the Higher Ed Media Group, and what I was discussing was the fact that the smartphones now are now more geared towards the higher end of video and photography. Like, you look at the quality of the photos and videos that you can get out of the latest iPhone 12. It has a chip that is more powerful than what I'm using in my Mac Mini at the moment, which is 5 years old. It's crazy. Yeah.
And as well as that, like they're now shooting nearly 4K. So like when you look at your GoPros, GoPros are perfect because of the people who use GoPros are the adventure sporty people who need something like where you're not really going to strap an iPhone to your head and go cycling down a mountain, where a GoPro suits that perfectly. So there's still a market for GoPro, but the quality of what people used to buy a GoPro for is now available on an iPhone.
Have you played around with any of these new social networks that is audio only?
Like Signal, do you mean?
Yeah, Signal.
I have, like, in the sense of I have it, but I've never used it.
Yeah. I think that the concept is great. Again, will be better when people are commuting again. I believe that instead of wanting to write a message, write a small tweet or whatever, people can record audio and then their followers can listen to audio from different people throughout the day. I think it's room to catch on. If TikTok and people dancing around to a small bit of music can have millions of followers, why can't something like Signal?
But even the people, like, if you think about it, there's I'm not trying to pick on girls, but in the sense of girls into fashion and makeup, and they've their opinions of it, and like they're just talking to their friends, oh, look at this dress, look at that, look at them, and the guys are like, maybe look at this aftershave, look at this sports team, or whatever the thing is going. And it's that kind of it's new form of interaction. So it's like we've gone WhatsApp crazy. Yes. And people are chatting on WhatsApp, they're video calling a little bit, but really it's the conversation. So now it's like taking what you're writing and just making it into a verbal message that the other person listens back and responds back. And it's nearly like getting this. It's nearly we're trying to get the WhatsApp and Snapchat and making it an audio platform.
Jen, my wife, loves the whole idea of pressing the button and recording a bit of a message now instead. And it is handy if you have two young kids running around the place and you're trying to send a quick message to myself or a friend rather than trying to type a WhatsApp text message. Do you use the microphone function?
Yes. No, I don't personally. My daughter uses it. She used to use it a lot to talk with grandparents.
Yeah.
So, but you're here because you're hearing the grandparents' voice back. Yeah, so it's more connected. It's more connected.
Well, and you go down that route, and to be honest, like looking at it, and with my late dad and whatever, would I have rathered a load of audio clips where I can listen back to them that's banked and stored? Now, I don't know, does Signal stored similar to other social network sites, or does the audio files disappear? But being able to hold on to audio like that, to hear a dead relative's voice versus a message or a bit of text or a memory of a photo. Yes, photos are great, but like this, I think just has that extra bit of punch.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because a voice brings back so much more. It's the sound of the voice, it's the hoarse or the crisp or whatever the sound or
Yeah, just like
whatever it
yours
is.
tonight. Like
Yeah.
we have to apologize for Simon's voice. I think he can take a cup of water while I tell people how to get the contact with the show again. It's at AV Tech Junkies, at Simon Lang AV for Simon's Twitter handle, at Justin or Dawson for mine. Just love to have your opinions on that. Like, where do you see social media going? Where do you see news going? I always, if I, again, another area of like, if I ever did a PhD, I think I would love to just study how media has evolved and what I call this type of media is citizen media, and everything needs to be fast versus the misinformation that comes with it. You know, like how many stories were we misinterpreted at the beginning of this global pandemic? Who knows? You know, like, yeah, and there was apparently still people believe that it was caused by 5G masks and still cutting down and so forth. But it's not. It's not. It's real life, guys. People are dying. You know, get a vaccination, wear a face mask, wash your hands.
Yes.
Do you remember? Do you remember Joe Duffy? Like at the very beginning, that's an Irish radio presenter. To all our international listeners, like every time he gave out the phone number, he used the words "wash your hands." I don't know, is he still doing that? But God love him if he's still doing that. You know, I think everyone's got the message now, Joe. Yeah, wash your hands, wash your hands. You have been studying this a lot, and we were talking about social media. Facebook to place an undersea cable to boost the Southeast Asia's internet.
Yeah, because what happened was from reading it was there was plans with Google and Facebook to have cables from Hong Kong to America. Then a small country called China
Just a small,
small country took possession of Hong Kong as they were meant to, not captured. And then there was concerns of spying and listening and all that stuff. So they all got cancelled. But so there seems to be a new cable that they're talking between North America and Sri Lanka and Indonesia, I think it is.
Singapore, Indonesia, yeah.
Singapore, Indonesia. I knew it was one of those S's down there. And yeah, so this is just one of many, many cables because I've seen Amazon's names mentioned in the article. They were trying to do a cable as well. And so it just, because I suppose it's just a small leap. And then from there, you're down to Australia as well. So, but these cables go all over the world. I love it. I think Wikipedia have a really good map of
I think we'll have to put this in the show notes. The two cables named Echo and Bifrost. I'd love to know like how underground the sea they have to go without like, I don't know.
They cross in trenches. Oh, like yeah, like these cables are massive. They're not like your normal Cat5 cable with a little bit of shielding around it. These are seriously armored coated.
You mean that like then there's not like millions of like Netgear routers that's like connecting these cables from one end to the other? No,
I think it's nearly all fiber optic at this point.
Wow.
And it's massive. Like these are what got me interested. I don't know. Here's a sidetrack. Is if you go down to I've just gone out of my head. Somewhere in Kerry, I think it is. There's no, it's not Kerry. Where is it? Charlie Chaplin.
We're going to be talking about rural Ireland at the end of this program as well. But yeah,
you have been the two of us you were there as well. I can't think of it. The place where Charlie Chaplin visited in Ireland.
Yeah,
right.
It's in Kerry. It's in Kerry.
Yes, that's it. And that's where one of the cables, one of the original telephone cables, came into Ireland.
That's right, actually.
The cable was like big chunky thing like this. They had a sample of it on the anyway. So that's what got me interested in going, oh, I wonder where all these cables are. And I looked it up one day and I couldn't believe the amount of cables that go from Ireland to the States, or from Spain to the States, or whatever the case, or us to Europe. Like, we don't realize how connected of a world we are.
I maybe I'm making this up in my fabricating a story. So I apologize to all our listeners for misinformation, but I thought I read that Elon Musk was talking about putting more satellites in the sky to get better internet connectivity.
Oh yeah. There's talk of that. I've heard that, and there's talking now because we'll come into the rural Ireland one down in Kerry. I think there was an agreement in Kerry with one local town to provide internet, and I think it was one of those Elon Musk
Yes, that is
satellites.
right. That I
That's
I'm
it.
not. I didn't make
Yes,
this up. I
and
didn't even.
that there's parts of Ireland that is so rural, and we have this national broadband plan where they were meant to be trying to get
Yeah,
broadband
that's
to,
not going to happen.
and COVID has just kind of put a nail in that coffin. And
Yeah.
but there's still parts of Ireland where they're not even getting dial-up nearly at this point. It's that bad. So this is the kind of thing that satellite internet is probably going to be the thing for those, or 5G, whichever they can get to first.
Well, it sort of brings us nicely on to this whole rural Ireland plan, which only got announced today, right? And we have to look at solutions to boost towns. Rural Ireland, COVID-19, global pandemic doesn't help the fact that we have towns like Ballyhornis, which is in County Mayo. Yes, Mayo. Yes, Ballyhornis and County Mayo. The only Bank of Ireland, pulling out because Bank of Ireland, several of the banks, because of
They're closing loads of their branches because there's no footfall going into the banks. What's the point? Everyone's online, blah, blah, blah. And local post offices are taking over. That's actually quite even an interesting story.
Yeah.
We've loads of post offices in Ireland, but they're taking over a lot of our banking.
But a lot of empty buildings, deserted buildings in rural Ireland, if you were allowed to travel around different counties, you would literally drive through what is like dilapidated villages with a few shops that are still trying to trade. It's sort of like an adapt or die situation. But with that in mind, the government has come out with a 5-year plan to try and boost people going back to rural Ireland, especially when everyone's working remotely. And it's something that I tapped upon on a crystal ball scenario that if this global pandemic went on for a long period, and let's be honest, we're not very quick with our vaccination rollouts, and then we discussed this even off mic, Simon, during the week, that people are forgetting that this vaccination might only last for a year period before we have to get vaccinated again, and if there's different variations of the virus, we could be in this type of lockdown scenarios for quite some time. But at the beginning of the year, the government were trying to hint away at, okay, well, it should be an obligation by employees to ask, can they work remotely, and if they can do their job, that it could become a legal act. Now they're talking about pushing people back into rural Ireland. We know that the amount of people that commute. I used to commute from North County Dublin over to the south side of Dublin to be on campus, and I won't have to do that anymore. And I'm moving campus, and that's breaking news that I'll be relocating to another university on the north side of Dublin. More to come on that in a later episode. But this is the talks of why should people who are renting in Dublin pay extortionate prices of rent to work when people can work from home. My wife has a friend that was in a relationship with someone from Donegal. They just decided, I'm not paying the rent, and they went back to Donegal. They are still able to work remotely, so they are saving themselves a fortune, and they're buying a small piece of land in Donegal, and they're building a house.
And I think that's just going to be the way it is. They're not required to go into the office anymore, or if offices are getting more like that, the only time you ever go in is for big occasions, or if you need a bit of kind of color. What's the word? If you're working together, basically on a project or something like that, you might need just kind of a session to get people. But as a whole, yeah, I'm hearing that in previous jobs, I know people are they're coming from or even current job. Some of the people are living in Wexford. Some people are living way down in Kildare. They're hour and a half outside the city.
They're talking about making all the rural pubs that may be closed up working hubs. And it sort of goes back to something I mentioned in previous podcasts, where if there is one of these working hubs that suits all aspects, you see them being rent a space type of ideas. If you're a small to medium sized business, that you can rent an office space and you can use their meeting room facilities, and you can network with other people that have small businesses, and your coffee and your tea is free of charge. Now, COVID-19 sort of had a knock-on effect of these type of places. But when people are vaccinated, do we need this long commute? I strongly believe this is going to be an absolute game changer of the Dublin landscape.
I think it's going to be like, but I agree. I think it's a brilliant idea. It's not really like hot desking, basically, but it's rent a desking in your local pub, and I suppose it's changing the mentality. A pub is in Ireland, I suppose, is a social place you drink.
Oh, I'm sure the Healy Rays will still keep it as a social place to drink and work at the same time.
Oh yeah, and advantages pubs do food, so you got food for lunches and everything. So you got a captive audience, and all you need is maybe a space that doesn't have to be loud, and like it doesn't have to be completely quiet. And because I've even come across the idea that some people have said in work related environments that these kind of rent a space places are doing really bad at the moment because everyone's working from home. But once everything starts opening up again, people are not going to want to travel. They're going to be, if they're going to have meetings, they're going to probably just rent the meeting room in where they're renting a desk, and everyone comes into that or remotes in, because that's the way it is now. Probably people are probably going to be remoting into meetings more than actually physically be present.
I always a lot of people will ask the IT and the data security aspect. But to be quite honest, I'd say that the IT and the data security aspect has been completely blown out the window with the global pandemic. Are you telling me that every person that is working remotely is using secure VPN networks to dial in to meetings and so forth? Maybe a lot of people are, but I know there's a lot of people that's not.
Yes,
I know
there's a lot of people that are not, but there's a lot of people using platforms that are like your Office 365,
yes,
which is secure in the cloud and stuff like that. But it's still like, I could say, like, I know companies where you would the minute you boot your computer up, your VPN starts. But they're companies that require confidentiality and information to be secure all the time, where others are like, well, they're using like remote desktoping or Citrix or TeamViewer or whatever, those kind of alternatives for when you need to do the things that are based in the office. But as a whole, most people are probably using Google or Microsoft.
Yeah.
To be honest, most people, there's not very many other alternatives out there in terms of your working environment. Mm-hmm. But like your Zoom is secure.
Yeah.
It's encrypted now. So
you
the only other thing,
what country your packets are going through now on Zoom. Yeah.
So the only thing now you need to secure is where you're working, that you're not talking about something that's a client related, and you just have to make sure the person who's renting the desk next to you doesn't be working for your opposition.
Well, only recently, Jared, who listens to the program and runs an AV company here in Dublin, alerted to me to the fact that like there is a place in Skerries that you can rent a podcast studio, you can rent a lecture theatre, and with that, I bet you can do the whole virtual environment in the lecture theatre and make it snazzy. Wow. And and I think these type of green room backdrops are becoming more and more popular. You have one that's based in a room of UCD. You have, I think, another one in a hotel in Ballsbridge or the RDS direction as well. I'm sure there's a couple over the north side of Dublin.
Yeah,
as well.
I think there's some in the football stadiums in Croke Park, in the Aviva Stadium. There's these virtual venues basically.
Yeah, it's going to be now whether or not, like, you look at government plans and you go, transport for Dublin, transport for Ireland, pushing money here. Whether or not they can actually, they're talking about offering grants to get people to move back to rural Ireland. If the grant was your wife is from County Clare. Would you,
Yeah.
if you knew that there was a grant of
That could
20 or
pay
30,000,
50% of your house,
would you jump
or
at it?
probably.
Yeah, it's to buy a bit of land down in
Yeah.
County Clare and move
Yeah.
down. Yeah,
Yeah. It's all about the I suppose, as you and me are in the same place in terms of family, it's all about the kids now.
yeah.
It's having the school, having the facilities around that you need. If you need special healthcare, that you have the facilities nearby, or if you need that there's just facilities,
Yeah.
stuff for them to do and things like that nearby. That's the downside of some of the rural areas. Like if you don't have a GA club or some kind of soccer club, there's not very much outlets. That's the only downside of moving further away.
That's very true. That is, it really is true. Like, there is the social aspect of there's a social aspect of us.
What about
to,
us
to,
having a
to,
social
to,
aspect?
to actually put it in perspective, listeners, Simon and I have not physically, we've seen each other physically once, which was at Christmas, to hand over presents for
Yeah,
each other's children.
but it was nearly a year before that.
It's nearly a year before that. We have
Yeah.
had virtual calls and whatever, but this is the reality of this lockdown. Talking about lockdowns, and one thing that we haven't really covered is Infocom, ISE,
Oh yes, the
and
elephant in the room.
the big elephant in the room. Okay, I think everyone went, well, we're not surprised when we found out that ISE wasn't, well, sorry, we have to, let me rephrase that. It is going ahead, but at a much, much, much scaled down capacity.
Yeah,
And
different.
it's going to be different. Now, let me pull up the ISE page, and we have to get
So the 4 locations are Barcelona, where
Barcelona.
the current one is, where the main one was meant to be.
Yes.
We got Munich.
Yeah.
In good old Germany.
Yeah.
Amsterdam, back to the right.
Yeah. That, honest to God, like, we look at Barcelona, which was supposed to have a bigger building than the Rye, and we know ourselves that in the Rye you would absolutely get lost if it's your first time visiting. I would imagine the Rye, because I've never been in the building in Barcelona. I would have loved to have actually gone back to Barcelona to see this. I think the two of us actually were really looking forward to this before the global pandemic kicked in. Thinking that, like, okay, when everyone believed that this might be a 2-week pandemic in Ireland, and everyone's going to go into lockdown for a maximum of a month, and then we're going to come out of it just like it was a flu, and realize that this is for the long term. Yeah, we were looking forward to Barcelona, and just even the cultural aspect of Barcelona. I think, like most AV technicians that wanted to go to it, Munich, well, I was it again, great city. I believe ISE was once upon a time in Munich, before they moved to Amsterdam. I'll have to check that recording with Michael Blackman again. Amsterdam, as in we know, the Rye, and then London. Now, here's the big elephant in the room question: would you go over to London?
Probably not.
No, I don't. No, even if if I had the first vaccine, I don't think I would either.
If it was this time next year and they were doing this again, I would go to London probably.
Yeah.
But like, saying that, probably this time next year will be in Barcelona and everyone will be together, hopefully.
It's live and online as well. The decision, we were responding to our customers to deliver ISE live and online schedule. We reached a decision following extensive discussions with our exhibitors. Several of the exhibitors were given the option and a deadline to pull out and not lose money and finances, and I think a good 80% at the time.
Yeah, because in the notes it says here it's approximately 50 stands, 50 companies per show.
And despite that, Simon, like 50 companies per show, the LTSMG, the Learning Teaching Space Management Group, had that amount of stalls when I went to the last not the last LTSMG that they did, but the one previously, which is about 2 years. It'd be 3 years, 3 years this year, and a great event, and all paid for, by the sponsorship and everything. So yes, it's 3 years of not seeing tech, but if you played it off on the fact that it was safe to travel, I think I would rather go to an LTSMG than go to an ISE in London, or the question is, if it's safe to travel, which country would you travel to? If it's safe to travel, I probably would love to experience the Barcelona feel to it, but
London is so convenient, really, for us from a flight. Like it's like a half an hour flight and you're there. So I think from a convenience point of view, it would be, I'd go to London. But to be honest, I'd rather go to the full thing, the proper thing in Barcelona.
Yeah, I agree. Will the likes of the AV media groups like Rave, like AV Nation, I wonder, will they, from America, will they make? I read somewhere that Rave was thinking of attending these. Now, whether they'll attend all of them, that's another question. We'll have to watch what Gary Kay and his team does with Rave. But it's a commitment. It's a huge commitment. If like maybe America's quicker with the vaccinations as well and get people over.
It's four locations in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks or something like that. I should probably know the dates. But like it's four locations, which means 4 sets of travel arrangements. Do you have a person bounce from one to the other? Or are you better off? Yeah, so 1st and 2nd of June, the 8th and 9th of June, the 15th and 16th of June, the 23rd and 24th of June. So basically they're all within a week of each other. So do you have a person bounce back and forward between them, or do you just put someone over there from the 1st to the 24th?
Now, what is going to be different this time with all the digital offerings? We did a lot of the digital offerings last year. I hopped between Infocom and the Digital Signage Expo and can't remember LTSMG at home. Apparently, in the Q&A, tell me more about the digital offering. It's powered by Cisco, a Netflix-style platform with not a virtual exhibition booth in sight. Interesting.
So it's probably just all promo videos for all the different companies, and you go in and look at their products or look at their maybe overarching video and then click here to go to their site.
And like there is an argument that is to be said, like, okay, it's ISE, the website will attract a large audience always, similar to Infocom, similar to CES. But what upset me was when you have to pay, and for CES, you had to pay to access the digital content. I was like, or I wait a day or two, and a lot of this trade material is free on YouTube. Sorry, listeners, this is my gripe. I don't agree with having to pay for a digital area if I want to watch stuff. And it'd be different if I'm attending physically. I don't know.
I think because I've seen some of those conferences that once the conferences are over, like it's all recorded, and you pay for access to it for whatever
on demand
2 weeks on demand for the next 2 weeks. But then after 2 weeks, that content is gone forever. Like it's not on YouTube. It's completely controlled. But the ones like you say, where they're literally up and then the next day the manufacturers throw them up on their own YouTube page
or their own website.
Why would you bother?
Why would I
would you bother paying the €600-700 or whatever it is to attend something that you can just wait and a good old YouTube will dish it up to you on your phone as you sit at home?
But like we don't forget about the social physical aspect of being able to go to an event like this, and that's why I think London, for all the AV Brits that I say will attend the London feature, 100%. Like it will have a big English following. Will it have as much Irish people going across to it?
But as if you look at the FAQs, it actually says that they picked these 4 locations because these are the 4 biggest markets.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Ireland isn't really a big AV market that would justify an ISE.
Well, we always
The
counted as
UK
British anyway. So
Yeah.
like I'm counted as an AV Brit, even though I'm
Yeah.
Irish. I'm Irish, but
Yeah.
thank you for like voting for me when it came to the AV Nation Readers' Choice Awards. You know, all the AV Brits were on my side trying to beat Chris Netta. I know Chris deserved it. He really did. He did. He does a lot for the AV industry.
But the one thing I actually would appreciate going to one is, now that I'm more in the tech in my current role,
Yeah.
I have questions where I want to actually go and physically pick the soundbar up and rotate it. I want to pick the unit up and go, and then kind of go to the guy while he's standing there, instead of having to send a mail or send an online chat to a guy, explain this unique little feature. You said,
and this is the new way of, like, even in the past year for virtual events. It's like once they have your email address, like, oh, you know, like you might have watched the video and whatever, but we followed up with a virtual call and we can show you the product. It's like, yeah, you're still showing me the product through a webcam. It's not the same.
Yeah, I want to physically pick it up, rotate it, feel the weight of it, kind of go, yeah, this feels sturdy. This feels like a piece
Why
of.
isn't more companies like jumping on board of going, okay, we'll send it out to you, you can trial it, and you can send it back to us here, free post.
Yeah, or something, yeah, like that. You know, like where you're kind of, because there's like, was it it's like pay later. Do you know that kind of, like, it's like, send it to me and I'll try it. If I like it, I'll buy it. If I don't like it,
I have to say the D10, like, and D10 offered me on several different occasions to, like, you can try out a D10 Me, you can try it out for 30 days or 60 days. If you don't like it, you will organize it to be sent back, which, you know, I think a lot more companies need to start doing things like that, or even just, yeah, I don't know what the terms of the conditions though would have to be like if you broke it. You know, that I'm sure there's some type of agreement that would have to come into play if you were playing it.
You're responsible if you break it, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I got to say there's a few products and there's a few things I got to say I'd love to try and get my hands on and play with here in my home office.
And like that, missing the swag, you know, and you know what? It's going to change the whole aspect of how we get freebies at these trade show events. People aren't going to hand out pens anymore until
or they're going to be individually
vaccinated.
wrapped pens, individually wrapped this. Everything's going to be wrapped, like it's nearly like it's wrapped, you know, by the manufacturer after.
I think there's room though for, like, I seen on RT Prime Time they were talking about different Irish people in different countries, and in some European countries they're very anti-vaccination. So they were offering a shot for shot. You know what? There'd be queues outside our pubs if that was the case. Yeah. People just want to have a pint in the pub at the stage.
You told me, if most people, you told them you can have a shot or a pint.
I'm proposing this whole idea for the next physical ISE. Chris, are you listening? We do an AV happy hour, shot for shot, and we vaccinate people as they walk into ISE. Mike Blackman, are you listening? We're on to something here. Simon and I have come up with the concept. How to get more people inside ISE. Vaccinate them as they go in the door.
Unfortunately, they're not going to spend 2 weeks inside. You can vaccinate them on the way back out as well.
That's true. It depends how many...
Or they just get a deal with the one-shot company.
Yeah. Hey, look, if private hospitals, so we're getting back to where we began this program. If private hospitals can offer vaccinations to private schools just because their kids go to that school, why can't we do it at AV trade shows? You know, like, joking aside, like, it's great to see that such arenas are being used for these mass rollouts. And then at the moment, it's testing to see if people are asymptomatic as well here in Ireland. You know, that's a project that's still ongoing at the moment.
Yeah, it's only recently, isn't it? It's in Dublin and one of the down in Tipperary. It's been going, and I think it's great because people need to know. And my company has it where they actually do testing nearly every week for their public-facing staff, and it's a big NEP approach to their staff as well across the globe, that co-regular testing. So
now I see with the dates, 1st to 2nd of June in Barcelona, 8th to 9th of June, so a week later in Munich, a week later in Amsterdam, and the final week in Battersea, London. In Evolution, I have a feeling Evolution in Battersea, London was where they held the AV Awards. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to double check that. The last AV Awards that was physically held. I wonder, is the video content going to be the same for the? I guess so. I can't see it changing.
they're not going to have, like, in a sense, big mass. Are they going to have big displays of LED screens? They're not going to have a hall of LED screens and stuff like that. I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see the floor plans when they come out.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, especially if there's only about 50 or so stands that's there. It really questions, like, will more manufacturers just start doing their own thing? Will we ever get back to a big scale ISE that we used to have in the RAI? And
you kind of wonder, like Crestron did the Crestron Next, which was their replacement of going to the replace going to Infocom and things like that. So where they launched all their products, and you kind of wonder, our manufacturer. But then you look at someone like Extron, who haven't been to an ISE for multiple years, and they're not affected by it.
No, and their whole approach. I remember when I went to one of their trade shows. It's like, oh, if you want to get trained up, we'll fly you over, we'll feed you, we'll give you some drinks as well, and we'll get you trained and we'll fly you home. So, and I think, that's a great approach to try and get consumers that using their products trained up and understanding their products. I think it's a fantastic approach.
Yeah. And they are a good company. Like, from an AV perspective, they're a very reliable company. So
they're going for years. If you want to get in contact with the program, we're going to end the program there. And congratulations again to Steve Ashby for winning the Elgato Wave 3 microphone.
Yeah.
We hopefully will be having more competitions, more unboxings, videos as well on our YouTube page in the next couple of months. I know we have some Yay-Link stuff to test out. Well, I will have some Yay-Link stuff to test out. I don't think I'm going to be allowed to give it away. Jared, might be able to sort me out with something like that. But we will have more unboxing videos as we go along, and loads more competitions. And the competitions are going to be in the similar type of fashion, where you share, you go up the table. A new website for All Things TechIE coming very shortly as well, where you can watch past episodes as we go closer and closer to episode 50. A long way off Tim Albright and AV Nation at 500 plus episodes now, but we'll get there along the way. If you want to contact Simon with any type of tech queries, or you can contact Simon at Simon Lang AV, contact myself at Justin or Dawson. All our details on our official website, which is going to go under overhaul, www.allthingstech.ie. For episode 45, here's a little screenshot where you can watch past episodes, and we shall talk to you again soon.